Finance. That's a big part of real estate. You got to know just things right off the top of your head about how finance works, because 80% of the deals are going to have financing on them. And you got to know how to qualify people, what to look for, how the system works. Because if you can't get them financed, the deal's not going to work. So let's look at our learning objectives. Concepts of the different loan types. You can get a loan 100%. Even if you don't have good credit, you can still get a 100% loan. How does that work? Loan requirements. But if you do get it at 100% bad credit, what do you think is going to happen? There you go. They're going to charge you more interest. That's how it works. So the lending process, we're going to talk about that. Who all's involved? How do we calculate loan payments? They've got a problem on the test about what's the loan balance after the second payment or the third payment. Well, if you know what the interest rate is and what the payments are, you can figure that balance and come backwards from it. And then there's some government. Of course, there's some government regulations. Let's get started. Equity. What's equity? How do we figure loan to value? Terms, principal, all these things, we're just going to break them down and deal with them one at a time. There's our methods, how it works, elements, provisions, regulations, pre-approval, parties. So we've got a lot to cover here. Let's look at equity first. Equity is the green. Well, actually, that's not our equity. That's what the seller thinks his equity is. We're going to sell it for $100,000. Seller thinks, well, I'm getting $100,000. No, it doesn't work that way. You've got things that are going to come off of that. You can look here. We're going to start out. Green's going to be our, I guess we would call it credit. Green, and then we got reds. These are all debits coming off of this top number. They've got a mortgage on this property, $50,000. He's going to have to pay that off because the title search is going to bring that up, and they're going to say, okay, this is coming off. This one looks like it's got a second mortgage on it. Property taxes. Put a 0 here because we haven't really talked about prorating property taxes yet, but there's going to always be some property taxes that are prorated in here. They have an income tax lien against them. If they do, the Internal Revenue has recorded that, and it'll show up in the title search, and they will pull that money off. Oh, and look, the commission. Of course, that's y'all's favorite number. That's the part that I'm interested in, the commission. Well, that's coming off of the credit as well. And they ended up, instead of having $100,000, he walked away with $33,000. That's how it works. They're not getting all the money. Everybody else has got their hand in that pie and getting their little slice. Equity, as a rule, this is not carved in stone. We used to carve it in stone up until about 2007. We said real estate goes up in value about 5% every year. And it did for years and decades. You just kind of could bet it's going up. But then in 2007, slam, there was an adjustment. So right now, we're building back up. It's going back up in value now. But I'm not going to say it's going up forever. I better not. You got another reason that your equity is going to increase, is you're paying down the principal. Every time you make a payment, the principal reduces a little bit. As we see, we're going to do one of these problems in a minute. It doesn't reduce much. In those beginning years, you're saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe there's just that little going to principal. Here are different types of loans. Mentioned the 100% loan. There are a couple of different 100% loans. One is a VA. VA is a veteran. There's certain criteria that the veteran has to meet to get this loan. But if they do, it's 100%, so that's kind of risky, wouldn't you think? if something goes wrong and I don't have any skin in the game, I can walk away. Well, enough people have walked away that the Veterans Administration, who guarantees the loan, it's a government loan guaranteed. This is only, well, this one and the USDA is guaranteed, but this one, if they walk away, somebody's going to come up with some money. So they've come up with what's called a funding fee, which is just come upfront insurance that you're having to pay. So money you're putting into a fund, so when they have to guarantee your loan or somebody else's, there's some money there. First time a veteran uses this loan, it's between, I think, 1.5% and about 3% that they have to pay up front or either loaded on top of the loan. They've also got USDA's, U.S. Department of Agriculture. That can also be 100% loan, and there may be some bond money involved with that. But basically you're looking at rural. Doesn't have to be rural. You can get closer in, but there are a lot of things that go on with a USDA loan. You've got income restrictions. You can only be like 115% of, you don't have to know that number, 115% of the, I think, average income. So if you're making, you know, a couple $100,000 a year, you're not going to get a USDA loan. You could still get a VA loan because that's not based on that income. You would have your payment based on your income, but not the qualification for the loan. Next in line, we have an insured loan. This one is an FHA, Federal Housing Authority. This came about in, I think, the Depression, when everybody was losing their homes, and then World War II came along, and you know, we were in bad shape. People couldn't buy houses. Our economy is kind of based on home construction. You look at what's going on, homes are not being built, things are not being sold, people are not working. So to get people working, they came up with this program to where they would guarantee the loan, not guarantee, insure the loan. 96.5% is the number you look at. If you see a loan that says 96.5%, it's probably an FHA conforming loan. Conforming means that these loans fit all the criteria for them to sell it into the secondary market, which we'll get into in a minute. Now, these loans are insured, so there's an insurance premium that is up front, just like the VA. They're going to have to pay a little, I think it's 1.25, something like that right now. It fluctuates. And then the 0.5% loads on to whatever the market rate is. Let's just say our market rate is 4% right now. If you get an FHA loan, you're going to pay 4.5% for that loan. That's insurance that you're paying.
That's the mortgage insurance premium?
Yes. Then once that loan is down to 80% of what it started, you can ask them to take that 0.5% off.
Gotcha.
By law, they have to take it off at 79%. But you can ask them at 80%, and if you've been making your payments, they'll go ahead and take it off. Otherwise, they're going to say, yeah, let's let you show us a little more.
So on that one, the seller, do they percentage that they have to pay, does that fluctuate too?
No, the seller is not involved in this side of the loan.
Okay.
The buyer, the purchaser is going to get this loan, and they have to qualify for it. And we're going to talk in a minute about how they qualify.
Okay.
Our next loan on the list is a conventional loan. A conforming conventional loan is 80% of the value of the appraisal value. Not necessarily the purchase price, because loans are based off appraised value.
Okay.
You may have bought the house for $200 and an appraisal comes back at $196. Well, your loan's going to be based on $196, and you're probably going to go back to the seller and say, hey, the house is really not worth $200. I'm going to walk if you don't cut the price. That is a form that you will do on every contract that has an FHA or VA loan in it. It says if it doesn't appraise then you can walk or renegotiate. That's called the FHA VA addendum. And remember addendum on our list? We got an addendum is something that is added at the time the contract was written. And you know when you do the contract what kind of financing they're going to do. Surely you have already advised them, counseled them, and said, have you talked with a mortgage broker yet? Before you put them in your car and start driving around showing them houses, you need to find out. But that addendum would be the FHA addendum. Now the conventional where we are, if it's an 80% conventional loan, there are no fees. There's no private mortgage insurance, and the initials are different here. You get private mortgage insurance, that's PMI, that's on your conventional. The other one, our FHA, was MIP, Mortgage Insurance Premium. A lot of initials in this business, a lot of them. So our conventional, 80%, you won't have any of those fees. And it'll be conforming if the property and the purchaser conform to all the little, they fit in the little box. Their credit rating's a certain amount. The ratios are the back end, front end, which we're going to talk about. Now what you can do, you can actually get a conventional loan at 90, 95, maybe even 100%. But you're going to have that premium if you do that on the whole thing. The better way to do this would be to get an 80% conforming loan with no insurance premiums on it, and then get you a second mortgage, or go to the seller and say, hey Mr. Seller, I don't have this top part of the purchase price. Can you help me out by maybe holding this note for me? That's called purchase money mortgage if you're getting that from the seller. Yeah, you don't want to have to pay that PMI on the whole thing. There's ways around. We had a training event down at the Real Estate Commission not long ago, and they said, the thing you try to do is you try to circumvent the law. That's why you're trying to cut around it. And the girl that was doing it said, you're trying to circumcise the law, and everybody in the room just fell over. But that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to cut around the law, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Circumvent is
What are characteristics on a VA loan?
It's 100%.
100%. Anything else?
And it had the LTV funding fee.
It's going to have a funding fee.
government guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Yes, it's a government guaranteed. Veterans, and that will include people that were in the National Guard, even if they served a certain number of days. Used to, they were not included. How about our FHA loan?
It's insured.
Insured,
96.5.
96.5% is the number we're looking for, yeah. What else?
Conforming loan.
It'll be conforming if they're going to sell it in the secondary market, and they all want to sell them into the secondary market because these mortgage brokers don't have a big pile of cash in their safe. They're not loaning their money out. They know where they can get money. That's the secondary market.
Is that when they do the assigning the mortgage?
They will. That's exactly what they do, is assign that mortgage. How about our conventional?
80%.
80%. We got some insurance and things on that?
PMI.
No, nothing on there unless it's over 80%, and then you would have a
Private mortgage.
private mortgage insurance. Yes. See how this stuff, it all starts sticking together. Which is government guaranteed.
The VA.
VA. Now this is one there, they like this because you study over the stuff pretty quick, and was that guaranteed or insured? If it's government loan, VA, it's guaranteed. The others, insured.
Put 20%
But
down.
yeah, put all the money down you got to put down. Loan to value, we just mentioned that. These are 100 or 96.5% or 80%. Can we use our loan to value, our T formula to do that?
Sure.
All right. if we know the house is $100,000 and it's an 80% loan, where's our $100,000 going? Base, and since we had a percentage there, we know it's always going to be in the rate. It never ever moves. Rate's always bottom right. Now we just got a straight across multiplying problem. 100,000 times 80%, that'd be 0.8, and that'll give us how much? Please don't get your calculators out to do that one.
100,000.
Ain't like you.
80,000.
80,000, yeah. Yeah. We like to work through this material with like base 10 numbers so you kind of get how this all works together. But you're not going to have base 10s on your test. It'll be the loan was $114,387
And 25 cents.
and 25 cents. And your mortgage was a 96.5%. And you say, I got to get the calculator out. Okay. There it is. See, this $20,000 now is a cushion. They're pretty good with that. They think, well, if you walk away, we're probably not going to get hurt. Because that's about what it's going to cost them to turn this house into the foreclosure market. So this is more like what you're going to get on the test. But y'all have been through the math class now, so you know the purchase price is probably going to be our base. That's going to be our big number because we're looking for the loan. The loan's always going to be smaller than the purchase price. So our 176 here, our 176 here and the 96.5 over here, straight across, multiply it. Let's set the problem up. There it is. This is what we're, what's the purchase price if the loan, look at what we did. Look at what we did. We didn't read the problem. Nobody in this room, including me, read the problem, and I wrote it.
What's the purchase price?
What's the purchase price?
If the loan is 176.
Yeah, if the loan is
So that's
176.
the result.
Yeah. Look, they would have got all of us on that. See how easy it is for them to write these questions and challenge you?
Challenge you.
I'm bad about reading through and just, I see, boom, throw it up there. 176 is our loan.
Right.
We're looking for the big number here.
So you only buy
182,383 is the purchase price on this house with a FHA loan. How about conventional? Going to be the same thing, except we're going to have a different number over here. We're still got the loan, and our rates, I'm looking to see 0.8 right here, 176, 220 is what that purchase price would have been. Or I should say the appraised value had to be that much.
Go back, please.
Go back, okay,
Thank you.
right here. That should be the next one on your slide there. The next slide should be that.
Write it out.
I got to
And write it down. Well, a lot of people, there are three ways people learn. You learn by seeing. Some people can just watch this and be listening to music and get it. Some people need to see it, hear it, and then write it down. And that just ties all of our brain functions together. And sometimes my brain's not working. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Term. Length of time. Prior to like World War II, the Depression era, when you bought a house, you had to put half the money down and pay for it in like 5 to 7 years. Wow, that's tough. That'd be tough then, tough now. So they came up with a way to, I guess, juice up our economy by getting the houses built and people in them by this 30-year mortgage, 360 months. That's I guess a standard mortgage now. That's what you expect to see. Some people have a 15-year mortgage. Let's just say you're my age and buying a new house. I probably don't want a 30-year mortgage. 15 would probably be more like what I would. In fact, I'd probably rather pay cash for it and I have a mortgage at this point. But I don't have cash. So I would have to get a mortgage, but I don't want to be paying up until I'm 100 years old. So you can do it different. Usually on the first day of the month is when your payments are due. These are called amortized loans. They're going to pay themselves off. Mort means death, and gauge is wages. It pays itself off until it dies. The principal and interest will be the same amount every month. Taxes and insurance will change over time, but what you signed up for when you got the mortgage is what it's going to be the entire length. Now, you can do some things with mortgages, like when you go get the mortgage, you can tell them, hey, I get paid every 2 weeks. I would rather my mortgage come out every 2 weeks. You'll actually pay the mortgage off 5 to 7 years early if you'll do that, because you're not paying interest on half a month, and you're making an extra month's payment every year. Yes, ma'am.
Does it matter what part of the month? Like you were saying that most loans are the first of the month. But say if mine is the 5th day of the month, would it be more beneficial to pay it on the first day of the month if you can, because you're paying interest on?
Makes sense.
Like,
Makes sense, because they've got simple interest on it. You don't pay it, you pay an interest on interest on interest. A bi-weekly, you can do it that way, and like you said, on the 5th, let's just say you are on Social Security and you get paid the first Wednesday of every month. Well, you may want your payment to come out after you get your Social Security deposit. Certainly don't want it to come out before. So you just tell them that up front. Hey, this is how I get paid. Work with it or I'll go somewhere else. And they'll say, we'll work with it. You see that P-I-T-I, that spells pity. I guess it spells pity. It's close enough to me to say it's pity. It's a pity the payment's so high. Oh, it's a pity. But that pity payment covers all the things that are in the payment. Your principal, your interest, and interest is rent on money. Then you've got taxes, which 1/12 of your taxes are escrowed into an escrow account with each payment, along with 1/12 of your insurance premium is going to go into that escrow account with the mortgage company. Mortgagee, they're the ones that get the fee. That's going to be in their escrow account, to where when your taxes or insurance are due again, they've got the money to pay it for you. Because they have learned over time, people will not pay their taxes and insurance if you don't make them. That's why we have, every year we have the newspaper with all the people who haven't paid their taxes. Well, they don't have mortgages on their properties. They own it outright, or they would be paying their taxes in escrow like everybody else does. Okay, got that? First 10 years or so, you're not putting much on that mortgage reduction, your principal reduction, I guess we should call it. We're going to get to one here and just see how bad it is. Normally your payments will start on the first day of the month. That's what they pretty much all are. If you need, like Social Security, you need it to come out on the 10th or 15th or whenever, they can work with you on that. But normally, well, they're going to set it to a day. And the normal is the first day of the month. So all mortgages are pretty much due the first day of the month. When you close a loan, it's not likely you closing it on the first day of the month. You're going to close it sometime during that month. So they need to reset or set that mortgage to the first of the next month. So you're going to owe interest for the rest of this month, because we pay interest in arrears normally. So that first payment that you make is going to be for the interest for a prior month. So if we close the loan today, let's say today is the middle of the month, we're going to pay interest for the rest of this month today at closing. Then the first of next month, we don't have a payment. Oh, how wonderful. Remember back here when we set the loan up, we get 2 months of escrow payments for taxes and insurance. So one of those is already there, plus they got a little cushion. So that next month you didn't make a payment all month long. You said, oh, this is wonderful, getting to live here for free.
It ain't free. Ain't never
But the
free.
first day of that next month, you've got a payment due that will include the rent on the money that you've borrowed. It'll be a principal reduction. It'll be 1/12 of the taxes and 1/12 of the insurance. And then it'll just rock along that same payment for a year maybe less, because when they get the tax notice and your insurance company sends them a notice that, well, taxes have gone up, your insurance has gone up. So the mortgage company sends you a little note that you're going to be short on your escrow account by maybe $50 or so. And they'll say, you want to pay that now? Or you want to just add it to your payment? What are you going to say? Just add it to the payment.
Most people pay it.
Yes. Money tomorrow is way better than paying money today.
So they consider that rent on the money that you borrow?
Yeah,
So
that's
you
what it is.
essentially still a renter then?
No, you're renting the money.
Oh, not the,
Yeah, you're renting
Not the
money is
equivalent.
what you're doing.
okay.
Interest is rent on money.
Rent on money.
Yeah, that's what interest is. You're paying rent on money. Income taxes, we don't give tax advice. Used to, up until a year ago, we could say pretty much you can deduct your interest from your income taxes. Well, they changed the law last year to where the standard deduction now for a couple is something like $24,000. Well, unless you got a whole lot of interest, whole lot of medical, whole lot of other deductions, you're probably just going to take the standard deduction and you're not worried about this anymore. Some people used to make buying decisions on their tax consequences. That's not really a factor anymore. Even when we sell it, a married couple can sell their house under today's rules and they don't have to pay taxes on the first $250,000 in profit. Now, many people making a $250,000 profit on a house. So the tax consequences are really not there like they used to be. But still, we don't give tax advice. We can say, here's how I understand it. You're pretty much not going to get a deduction for this unless you have got over $24,000 worth of deductions. Check with your CPA. Y'all will not have to figure this out in class, at the test. You won't have to figure how much the payment is. But when you get back out in the real world, you can do this with your calculator. A lot of calculators have this time value of money buttons on it. And if it does, you can put in the number of payments, the interest payment, the present value of the loan, and the future value will always be zero because it's amortizing going down to zero. And then you hit the compute button and hit payment and it'll tell you with 360 months, 12% interest, $100,000 loan, your payment's $1,029 a month. How much of that is interest? Oh my goodness, we're paying 12% interest on $100,000. We're paying $1,000 a month in interest. And that other $29, that's all that's going to the principal. The first part of your loan is you are renting.
Yeah.
There's our payment. So the test question, which is, they love this question, what's your principal balance after your first payment? Well, they could say second, they could say 15th. But if you can do the first one, you can carry it all the way down. Here, they told us back here, our payment's $1,029. That's what they'll tell you. All right, so their payment's $1,029. We will have to figure the interest. And we know it's 12% on a $100,000 loan. That's $12,000 for the year. Remember, put everything to the year if you're dealing with interest rates or return on investments. Those are all yearly numbers. So you're paying $12,000 a year if you just paid interest on this loan. But that first month, you're actually going to reduce that $100,000 that you borrowed by $29.
A whole 29?
Yeah. So your new loan balance is $99,971.
Wow.
Ouch! It's going to take me a while to pay this loan. Probably 30 years.
360 months.
Our next payment's still going to be $1,029. This is not including interest, taxes and insurance. This is just principal and interest. So we only have to pay interest on this much money this month. So there's our interest. Here it was $1,000, now it's $999.67 in interest.
Each time.
Just a little bit, but it's coming down.
Yeah.
So we subtract this month. Our principal, we applied $29.33. Ooh, 33 more cents. So our new balance after the second payment is $99,941.
$100,000, okay.
Now here, down here at the bottom, remember we had trigger terms? One of the trigger terms that they'll have to tell you is how much you're going to have to pay. On this $100,000 loan, you're going to pay $270,000 worth of interest. Ouch! Total payment's $370,000 on a $100,000 house.
So on the trigger terms, would that apply to anything that would require, like, would it apply to an auto loan or anything that's considered?
I'm not sure about personal property. This is just real estate law here. This is RESPA
Okay.
that we're under those trigger terms.
Right.
And I don't know that personal property even applies to that. This is where you're trying to level the playing field for people. You've got to disclose these things. Here's what it's going to cost you if you borrow from us.
Because I noticed, I was looking at a car ad yesterday, and I noticed there was a trigger term, and it didn't disclose
Okay.
all the other
Maybe you
components to it, and then that's why I was just wondering if that would apply to something like that as well.
I'm not sure about personal property,
Okay.
but y'all not going to have any questions on personal property. This is real estate. Now, on Tara came to me after she didn't pass the test this time and said there was a question on there about the principal reduction, but they didn't give you the number. You had to figure it out. Okay, well, they're going to give you a rate chart, and she said that it's actually taped to the table where you're taking the test. And they didn't even tell her it was taped there. There's stuff all over the place. She didn't read everything there. But there was this chart taped to the table where you're taking the test. The question may say, you've got a 5% interest rate, 30-year mortgage. What is your loan factor that you would multiply by 1,000 or by your mortgage to get your payment? And if they give you that, it could be any rate. They could say it's 3% or 9%. This one they're saying it's 5%, so you go to the 5% rate. And then the 30-year term, so it's 537 is the factor. So if you've got a factor, you can multiply it by your mortgage. So you got a $100,000 mortgage, and your factor is 537, your payment is going to be $537. Y'all see that? Back here, they just gave us, it was $1,029 at 12%. You work it that way, or you can work the same thing. You're still going to have this much payment. And if you know that, you know it's at 5%, you can back off like we did back up here. We'd multiply the 5% times the 100,000 to get our interest cost for that month. So what is our interest cost out of this 537? How much of that's interest?
Plus interest?
Yeah.
I don't put.
Probably 530.
I think
You
we
would
have
have to do a T formula, wouldn't you?
Well, let's look back at this other one. We took our principal amount times the interest rate to give us the interest per year, and then divided that by 12 to give us the month. Same thing would work here. It's 5% times 100,000. How much is that?
500? I mean,
Be 5,000. You'd have $5,000 worth of interest. If it's a 5% loan on 100,000 and you just paid interest, it'd be $500. I mean $5,000 worth of interest for a year. We're going to divide that by 12. I can't do that in my head. 500 divided by 12, but it's going to be just a little under 500. So you'd get that number, you'd multiply that number, and that's how much interest you paid that month. Subtract it from here, and that's the amount you put toward principal. And then you'd work the problem like this again. Just here, you're having to give them this number that they gave you. They can either give you the number, or they're going to give you a rate chart to where you're going to have to do the number. I wanted to put this at 12 like I had this one, but it only went up to 9. Had I had a 12 down here, we would have seen the numbers just walk right across, and we would have just, oh, I see that.
Too even.
Yeah, this is just too hard here. You got a different number. But it's the same problem. You're either going to be given the number, or you're going to have to multiply it by this factor to get that payment number, and then come back and get your interest off of it. Same thing. Balloon payment. Some loans are amortized over maybe 30 years or 15 or whatever, but you only pay it 5 or 7 or 10 years, and then there's a balloon payment. That means that everything that's still due, let's back up to this one, and our balloon payment is due on the 3rd month. That's how much we'd have to pay as a balloon payment. Yeah, balloon payments, the definition of one is at least twice as much as your normal payment. Balloon payments will typically be way more than that. But it allows you, where we'd probably use these would be owner financing, where the owner says, okay, you didn't have the whole 100%, or I'm financing the 100% to you, whatever he's financing to you, he doesn't want to finance that for 30 years. If I was doing owner financing, would I want to finance somebody for 30 years? No, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to say, I'll make your payments like they're going to be 30 years, but you get your credit straightened out, go to the bank in 5 years and get a regular loan. Then you're going to owe me the balance, which will be you've made payments for 5 years, and that's brought it down a little bit. Could be, I'm saying, okay, you just make interest payments on it for 5 years. And at the end of 5 years, you owe me the 100,000. Everything's negotiable. That's what we do in this business all the time. We're moving something from here over to here, down to here. You're going to see how we do this with finance on adjusting interest rates. Points. Points. A point is 1% of the loan, not the purchase price. It's never figured on the purchase price. Your commission is figured on the purchase price, and it works just the same way as we figure points. But points is what we deal with mortgages. 0.1% on a $100,000 loan, 1 point, how much? $1,000. Let's just learn with base 10s so we can see how it fits together. Then we'll deal with some goofy numbers. You can also use discount points. If you don't have enough money to pay your closing cost. Okay, that happens. I want this house, but I've only got $3,000 in the bank. And my closing cost is gonna be about $7,000. Where am I gonna get that $4,000?
Creative finance.
Creative financing. Yes, that's kind of what this is called. Creative financing. You need another $4,000 worth of money to pay your closing costs to get the house that you want to move in. So what we can do, this 1 point on a $100,000 loan, looks like we would need 4 points to get that 4,000 for us. So let's just multiply that, get our 4,000, and the way it works is 1 discount point will increase the lender's yield by 1/8 of 1%. Use that number to learn with. It can be a little different, but just for our purposes, 1/8 of 1% is what 1 discount point will increase their yield. So they can add for your, well, I got a little thing down here about builders. They will do that. They will pay your discount points to lower this rate for like the first year of the loan. That way you can qualify for a bigger payment. We'll see how that works. But builders will do this to take it the other way. Instead of putting money on, they'll take some off for you. Here's how we figure points. Points always going to be 0.01 for 1 point. If you got 3 points, it's going to be 0.03. Amount we paid in points, that's going to be a dollar number, little number, and we're going to have a big number for the loan amount. How many points will be paid on a loan of $83,000 if you pay 2 points? Let's set the problem up. Where does the $83,000 go? Base. Yeah. How about we've got a 2 points? We got to do something with that number 2. We can't just put a 2 over here. 0.02. There we go. We got the problem set up. You're home free. All you got to do then is multiply across our $83,000 loan times the 0.2. You'd pay $1,660 in points.
And that's over the life of the loan.
No, that's today.
Oh, okay.
You're paying that money today to get a lower rate, or you're paying it to get some closing costs. This would get you $1,660 worth of closing cost on this loan.
So that applies for your closing, the point system applies to your closing cost.
Could be the closing cost. It could be where the builder's paying some money down for you to where you're not paying as much interest that first year. And you'll qualify for a bigger loan. Remember, we qualify by percentage of income. So here, you're paying points to get, you needed $1,660 worth of points to pay your closing cost.
Right, but wouldn't that essentially be the same as the loan itself absorbed that? So wouldn't you essentially have been paying that over the life
You
of the
can.
loan?
That's where I'm going next.
Okay.
This could either be applied to your closing cost right now by you writing them a check for $1,660, or they'll say, how about we just put that on top of your loan? So now your $83,000 loan is $84,660. So you're going to pay interest on interest. But you want to move in the house this month. And I don't have $1,660.
And Christmas coming.
Yeah, Christmas is coming. More likely it's going to be like 4 or 5 points, because $1,660, not many closing costs. This is more realistic. Your loan amount's $175. Where does that go? Base. And we've got another number, so that's probably going to go up here as a result. 5250 here, base here. We're just going to divide this number by this number, and it will give us 3 points. This is more realistic. That's probably a realistic closing cost there, $5,200. And you could pay them 3 points, and they just They'd just be happy to get that money, or they'd be even happier if you would load it on top of the loan. That's really what they want. But we've got new rules that say we've got to put people in the right kind of loan. We can't just push them to somewhere we're gonna make more money, or the mortgage company, not
That's what
us.
was happening.
Yeah, that was happening. You'd push people into loans to make the loan bigger, or get them in loans you know they're gonna default on.
Right.
You know it's coming. You've looked at their payment, you said, hey, maybe 2 years they'll be gone.
Mm-mm. Wouldn't that be illegal?
It is illegal. It is illegal.
But the
Catch
people,
it.
but the thing about it is the buyer or the, was it mortgagor?
Mortgagor gets the door. You're
Yeah,
right.
so the mortgagor would have to basically know or understand that they got taken advantage of.
Yeah. That's why we have the RESPA form that says, okay, if this company, your closing costs are gonna be $5,200 at this rate. And you go over to another mortgage company and say, well, your closing cost with us will be $5,250, but you're paying 0.5% less with us. You're giving people a level playing ground so they can look at the numbers. And if you say, whoa, this is way out of line. Why are you charging me this much?
One thing that I do like with those FHA loans, because I have one, is that you have to watch videos as a part of the loan process.
Educate you.
So that they will educate you, so you'll be informed before, in order to qualify, to get the loan. That's a part of the qualification process.
I think that's wonderful.
Mhm.
Wonderful. I got an FHA loan in '79. You know, I was begging them, please, please, please give me the money. Bridge loan. Bridge loan, this is a new question on the test, it hadn't been on there before. Now, you have a house that's got equity in it. Say you paid half of it off, you got $100,000 worth of equity in your home, and you're wanting to buy another home over here. You can use a bridge loan by taking the equity out of your current home to make the down payment on the other one. Now you're still gonna have to qualify to make both payments, but you can cash out here and lay it over there, so we can go ahead and move on over here into this new home while this one's still on the market to sell.
You don't want it to sit too long.
You know, you don't want to make too many double payments, but this is how you can get on over to that next home. You see, this goes back to what the purpose of all our monetary policy is. We've got to generate jobs, and you generate jobs by building homes. So if you can go ahead, we can come up with a program to get you on out of your old home into a new one. That's what we want to do.
Does it have a limit, a certain number of months or something that you can actually have a bridge
I
loan?
don't think it's got a
They don't
interest.
really care, long as they get the money.
Yeah, if you can make the 2 payments, but I don't think
But I'm
it's
saying
got.
most companies don't expect you to be able to pay, make 2 payments
Yeah.
forever. So
No.
that's why I was wondering, is it
I
like
don't
a certain
know,
period of time that
You
they?
said it makes
I don't
sense.
see anything on there about it.
Mm-mm.
Got a link down here if you want to know more about that, but that's probably not on the test. On the test, the question will read something like, if you want to buy another home and you've got equity in your home, can you use that to buy the new home? What kind of loan is that called? And it may have FHA, VA, bridge, or straight, or it could have 2 or 3 names there.
But that's
Multiple,
something
yeah.
that we can inform our client
Yeah,
of.
you could. I don't remember that I've ever done one of these. Usually people, they've made up their mind, they're gonna buy another house, they sit in this one till it's sold.
Yeah.
But like the lady that was in here the other week she was listing the house,
Mm-hmm.
but her buyer,
had not sold theirs yet.
right, so that's
He
something,
could have done that.
okay.
Now that I know more about that one, they were qualified. He could have done that. But people don't want to be out on a limb like
No,
that.
that's right.
But see,
I
his purchase was contingent on the
Yes.
house selling, but the one that he wants, the seller may not be willing to hold it.
Right. They had to take a contingency.
Mm-hmm.
And he put his on the market. And we got a contract on it like 3 days later.
Okay, cool.
We're closing both of them on the 20th of next month.
Alright.
Same day. You think maybe something could go
Interest.
wrong?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'd be a nervous wreck till the 20th.
And when you sell a house and you close the deal out, didn't the purchaser walk through there and everything's just like I bought it? Everything's good, there's no holes in the floor? Well, don't they want all the seller's stuff out of there so they can see?
Uh-huh.
Well, the seller not even sure the house is gonna close today.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, this is one of the bad parts of our job is if something goes wrong. They've already loaded the moving truck up.
Oh,
Yeah, just know that, but bridge loan's what you need to know for this.
Okay.
Home equity line of credit. Home equity line of credit is a loan that you can get on your property, different from what's it called, second mortgage. This is a line of credit that you can say, okay, my house is worth $100,000. I've got $100,000 worth of equity because they base this on equity. I got $100,000 worth of equity. They will loan you 15% or give you a line of credit of 15% of that equity. So you can get it's kind of like getting a credit card with $15,000 worth of credit on it. And you can charge things or buy things and it'll pull that down. As you pay it off and get back up, you can use it again. These have a life of, I think, 10 years. And everything's good. For 10 years, you can up and down this money.
Right.
And then at 10 years, I guess you gotta be at a zero balance or either roll that into another type of loan. But it's like a credit card. We're going to look at one kind of like this. $100,000 loan needs $4,000 in closing costs, so that's 4 points that will take to cover those costs. You can add it to the loan, pay it up front. Here's what happens if you add it to the loan. Well, now this is not adding to it, you're just paying it. What you're going to do is they're going to add 4 points, which is 4 times 1/8 is 0.5% to the market rate. Our loan market rate now is 5%. They're going to add 1/2. Your loan's going to be at 5.5%. Ouch. $100,000 loan at 5%, $536 a month. At 5.5%, it's $567. Let me ask you, does that mean anything to anybody? No. $31 more a month?
Yeah, still fine.
And I don't have to pay any closing cost? I mean, I can just bring my suitcase and I'm through, I'm here? Yeah, give me some of that. Over the life of the loan, that $31 is going to cost you $11,000. But, are you going to stay in a house 30 years? Probably not. How long are you going to stay there? 15 or less. Does this mean 10 years from now, does this mean anything? It didn't mean anything today. It's still not going to mean anything 10 years from now. The interest rates at that time may be 8.5%. We're in a crazy interest rate right now. You can pretty much buy a house for 0 interest.
Wow.
I mean, it's like, if they have a 15-year loan, I think you can get down in the 2s. Isn't that something? That's just almost like free money.
Yeah.
can compare it to 12%.
Yeah, that's
It's
insane.
like you letting me rent this money for free. Give me some more of it.
Are more people refinancing then? And now?
Refinance, they're more refinancing than purchase mortgages right now.
Right.
And you'll have that as they tick down. They tick down a little bit, people rush in and refinance.
Are there closing costs associated?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But those
Absolutely.
closing costs on refinances, are those fees up front, or can you add them? to
Same way the other one
the
is.
same one?
If you got them, you want to pay them.
Yeah,
I refinanced my house when I turned 60.
okay,
I had 15 years left on it.
okay,
Payments were like $750 a month.
right,
And I said, why don't I just refinance this? And I did. My payments are $350 a month now.
Wow.
yeah, that's great.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
around, and yeah, am I worried about, I got a payment due the week of my 90th birthday.
You gonna do like your granddad did.
I mean,
I care more about the $300
Wow.
extra in my
Yeah,
pocket this month and
absolutely.
next month and
That's
next
right.
month than
Now.
I do my kids having to come up with a payment.
That's right,
That's the way we think.
yeah.
But that cut it in half.
Yes,
Yeah,
well, that's why
right.
people will refinance.
Right.
They're cutting their payment down. Some of them will refinance to cut the years down.
Yes,
You got different, people have different motivations. Mine was to cut the payment down.
right.
I didn't care about the last 15 years.
But couldn't you refinance for fewer years, but keep your payment about the same, but you get to pay it off sooner? Like you could have gone from a 30 to a 15 and the payment about the same.
You can do
But
that.
you benefit because it's half the time versus half the.
You can go to the
Payment amount.
mortgage company and say, hey, I want my payments to be $1,000 a month. All of a sudden, I've got, say, some rental property that's paid off now and it's getting $1,000 a month in rent.
Yeah.
I go to the mortgage company and say, hey, I want my payment to be $1,000 a month.
Right,
And y'all pay them directly.
right,
Oh,
And
cool.
now there's $1,000 a month
Going
that's
directly to
paying my
the.
mortgage off, and somebody else is paying the rent.
Cool.
I tell you, that's how people, the only way you're ever gonna get rich, you can't do it with your own hands. You gotta have somebody else's hands helping you. And rental property is the way people get rich in this life. Most people's wealth is tied up in real estate. So if you've got 3 properties or 10 properties that pay you $500 or $1,000 a month, why am I still working?
That's good.
because you like him.
That's awesome.
All right, we got all that. Good idea to pay points. Well, we just went over all of that. Any of these links that are blue and we're in PowerPoint slideshow mode are active. You can click there and go look at, is it a good idea to pay points? And they'll give you different scenarios here. And there's actually a mortgage calculator there that you can figure. Well, what if I do this or this or this? It's just like, you got to buy a car. Well, what if I do it 10 years? 10 years. Now I think you can finance them 8 years.
I know, 8, yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
And they push you to it. They all want to know what your
Cause you can get more car.
Hey, now what we just talked about here. Same thing. It works the same. Well, here's where you can get a mortgage calculator to figure all that. Okay, other closing costs. We talked about, we had $4,000 worth of closing costs. So what are we talking about? What do you mean by closing costs? Here they are. First off, when you go to the mortgage company, they're going to want you to do an application. They're going to ask you for some money right then. An application fee is going to cover your credit check. And then there's going to be an appraiser. They're going to want that money up front. Because what if they have the house appraised and you don't qualify, now they're stuck with the appraisal cost. So they're going to ask you for that up front. Any money that's going to be up front is usually going to be called paid outside closing, POC. You'll see that, those initials. POC is something like appraisal. That's paid outside of closing. That's not accounted for at the closing table. The attorney, his is accounted for at the closing table. Even though he's doing the work prior to it, he doesn't ask for the money up front. Oh, a commission. Oh, there's a commission in the closing cost. Of course there is. That's going to be at the closing. Title, that's a closing cost. It's going to split normally here in Birmingham. In the contract it says if it's a cash sale, seller will pay title. If it's a finance sale, it'll split equally. We've got a chart that we'll look at on how that works. There are lots of other fees. Inspection, the home inspector, you think he's going out there for free?
Yes, no.
No. You think he's going to want to wait till closing for his check? No.
He's not going.
No, he's not going to wait. He's not going until he got his check. Lots of fees. Tax letter. The attorney is going to have to send the county a letter. How much is the tax? It's been paid, not been paid. Where are we on taxes?
So there's a fee for that?
There's about, I think it's $25 for that. Wire transfer, they charge $15 to transfer it by wire. There's a fee for me. About 4% is what I look at as an average closing cost.
And these are the things that are done to get a loan.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Return on investment. I don't think the salesperson's test has a return on investment question on it anymore.
That'd be
It
the
did.
broker.
Yeah, broker would do, but y'all need to know how it works. It works just like points and just like everything else that we put on the T formula. It's going to be, you want a higher return on your investment for more risk. Lower return, less risk. The treasury bonds are the most secure risk you can have right now. It's backed by the full faith and credit of the American government. That's the least riskiest investment you can have. And I think it's paying 0.25% or something like that right now. In Europe, it's actually gone negative. You put money in a treasury in Europe and 3 years later you get less money. But it's still less risky than anything else.
If you're gonna keep it in for over a period of time.
Yeah. But here, we're dealing with real estate, so risk is probably going to be based on location. If you've got a house in a bad area where every other house is burned and boarded up, and you buy one of those to rehab it, is that a risk?
That's a very big
A
risk.
big risk. You're going to want a higher return on your investment there.
Are we gonna be tore up for you?
It could easily be. You could lose all your money. And this is how it works. Our rate number always down the bottom right. We're going to have a little number and a big number. Our investment will be based on the income with this. If we know our income, we're going to express it in annual because this number is annual. That gives us two numbers. So what's a 15% return on investment on $1 million? All right, well that $1 million is not what we're getting.
Alright, that's your.
That's going to be our base. 15%, there's only one place that number can go.
0.
Right over there. There it is. You get a $150,000 return on that investment. So y'all got some broker stuff here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what you need. It's flying my mind out.
Make my head hurt.
Methods of financing, we've touched on these, so we'll go through them a little faster this time. Loans are made by loan originators. If you tell your client, have you been to a mortgage company yet? They'll say, well, no. That's the first thing you need to have them do. There's no sense even working with them until you know they're qualified to buy something. Wow. So you're going to send them to a mortgage company. Well, the mortgage company has people in there kind of like us. They're working on a commission. And the origination fee is their commission. Usually it's 1%. It can be any number. I've got one in here where they charge a 5% origination fee.
That's too high.
That's why we want the RESPA. So we can say, all right, well, your origination fee is 115 and yours is 6,000. And we're at the same interest rate. What's going on here? That's why we have RESPA, is to make this playing field even. But you can go to a mortgage company like ABC Mortgage Company. That's a mortgage broker. They can sell a mortgage product for a lot of different people. They know where they can get money. If you've got credit issues, they know where they can get that money. You got beautiful, perfect credit, they know where you can get money over your lower rate. They know who these people are. A mortgage banker is like a bank. Wells Fargo, Regions, those kind of folks, they have only their product. You either fit in their box or you don't get the loan. They don't have anybody else over here they can go to and say, well, their credit's 600. No. They're going to say, we can't help you. That's why. Yes, ma'am.
So is it illegal for a real estate agent to have relationship with maybe one specific mortgage broker? Is that like considered steering? Or like if you send your client to ABC mortgage broker, is it considered steering or not, as long as that person is offering them whatever product is in their best interest?
Well, that's where RESPA kicks in.
Okay.
I'm going to say, I'm going to refer you to our website and say, go to the finance tab, and we've got some people that we have done business with.
Okay.
And here's a link to their company.
So they pick that.
They pick.
Mhm.
And then go to one, get the disclosure sheet from RESPA, and say, okay, this one's got a $100, no origination fee. And this one's got $6,000 worth of, well, there's a reason. There's something else going on down here you got to find. They're charging you, instead of 4, they're charging you 4.5%, but no origination fee. Well, come down to the bottom line. And what is the number down here?
So whatever, like if once they've shopped around for you, the mortgage broker, and whoever they find that's gonna give you the best rate or what have you for your credit and so forth, then like if they come back and say, well, we'll loan them on a 4%, that mortgage broker can add points to it and make it a little bit higher so that he gets more of a commission off of it?
No, that's not why they do that.
Okay.
There you're going to run into mortgage fraud, where you're giving them extra fees, or you're pushing them into a loan you think they can't handle, or going to default on. They're under more rules than we are
Okay.
on how they have to treat people.
But the lender then can do it themselves based on the risk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. It's,
Okay.
it's definitely risk-based.
Okay.
If you've got a 600 credit score or an 800 credit score, there is a vast difference in what you're going to pay in interest rate. It may be a point more. Okay? What happens here is you've gone to one of these, got your loan. Now, they are not going to keep it. That mortgage broker that put your loan together, he knows he can get money over here at 4%, and he's loaning to you for 4.5%. That's his profit. The origination fee is just the fee to put it together. But mortgage companies make a profit just like everybody else. Their profit's based on the spread. They can get it for 4.5. They're going to loan it to you for 4.6 or 4.7 or whatever the market will bear. That's what it boils down to. And it's going to be risk-based. Now, they have to get more money, so they've got to sell this loan that they've got. Assign is another word we've learned. They're going to assign this mortgage with you to somebody else in the secondary market. Secondary market will be other banks. Other insurance companies, investors will buy blocks of loans or single loans, depending on what their criteria is. A mortgage broker may know this guy with just zillions of dollars stacked all around his basement, and he said, well, I'll loan you money for this if they've got a 700 credit score, and they've got 5 times the income, so we got a little cushion there. You've got conforming standards in loans. The conforming standards means that the person in the property met the criteria for conforming. Conforming means, remember our ratios, front end, back end, 28%, 36%. That's on a couple of loans. The VA's 41, just total. But if the loan is in this box, you fit the criteria there, your income is right, your credit is whatever their number is. The average credit score last year for a home loan was 720.
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty good credit score. That means they have tightened up.
Yeah.
They don't like all that risk, so they're pushing the criteria up. Well, if you placed a loan at 680, can you sell it out there now?
It's
No.
hard.
You can't sell it out there anymore. You're going to have to keep it. That's called a portfolio loan. There it is, down at the bottom.
Yeah.
All right, so we got that covered. We looked at this one. I think this is one of the first slides we had where we broke down the tape. What we're going to do here is we're going to look at the individual loans. The VA, that was 100% government guaranteed. There's a funding fee. They want you to, whoa, look at that tool, I have 3% up. This is something you should have known up here, that it's not that one. They'll throw a lot of really nice looking answers out there, and you may have a student loan, you know what Sally Mae, and you say, yeah, they make loans. And if you miss this, you may say, click. HomePath, still this is more on foreclosures. Might want to go there and look at that one day. We've already covered everything you need to know here. Conventional loans, we've covered GI, which is VA. We've covered FHA. Now we have conventional. These are not government guaranteed or FHA insured. This is private. This is where you went to Wells Fargo and said, I need a loan. And they ran your credit, said, well, you fit in the box. We can get you a conventional loan if you've got 20% down. We can get you the best rates. And that's what this one is. At 80%, you got skin in the game. You're not likely to walk away if you put 20% of your money in the deal. So you're less risky. 80%, what if you don't have 80%? Well, go ahead and get the conventional loan at 80% and come up with that other 20% from somewhere else. Get a gift letter from mama. You can do that. You can get a gift letter that says you don't have to pay this money back, we're giving it to you. All right, well, that could be part of your 20% that mama's giving you some $10,000 or something. You can also go to the seller. I think we got right here, seller. Here we go. Seller may hold part of this 20%. Well, that risk is not on this lender. This lender is only on the hook for 80%. They're good with that. They're in first place. House goes into foreclosure, they get first money right after property taxes, but they get first money. Then the second mortgage, you went to the seller and said, Mr. Seller, I need $10,000 to do this deal. You want to move out of the house really bad? I can help you do that if you will loan me the $10,000 to pay part of this 20%. And seller says, really? How about 10%, 5 years, and can you do that? Whew, that's an awful lot per month. Can we amortize that over 30 years and have a balloon payment at 5 years? Because I'll be back on my feet by then. I just got a little credit issue right now. I signed with my niece on a car and she never made any payments on it. Okay. He said, okay. So he gives you 10% of that money. Still doesn't affect this.
So could you have the 80% get 5,000 of what you need from the seller, and then maybe another 5,000 in a gift letter?
You
So
can go through your couch,
however-
go through your couch and get all the coins out and roll them up.
So however, you can have 5 different
Garage
sources.
sale. Yeah,
Okay.
that's all they're concerned about is their 80%. Now here the seller can contribute 3% of that. You may say, seller, how about you paying 3% of my closing cost? That'll cover some of your money. Maybe you'll have that now that you can pay that 20%. Okay, no private mortgage insurance at 80%, but if you say got an 85%, a 90% conventional loan, which you can do, I think you can get all the way up to 100% conventional. But guess what's going to go up?
The
Interest rate's probably going to go up because now you're
You're
pretty
over risk.
risky. All about risk and reward. You mentioned REO earlier. REO means bank owned. Bank owned properties are called REOs. Mortgage insurance, here's how it works. Why don't we stop right here and take us about a little quick 10-minute break and then come back and start over. All right, let's come back from break. Back from break. Mortgage insurance, got that covered. What we want to do is look at why we would have owner financing. Well, we went through the what you've got to have, the box you've got to fit in to get conventional or FHA or VA financing, and the box is pretty tight. Well, you may not fit in that box, or the property may not appraise for what you think it is. So the person and the property have to qualify to get regular loans. Owner finance, a lot of reasons. One is banks usually don't want to finance land. So if you're just buying raw land, you're going to have to put down probably 50% of the money. Because if you've got, let's say things are going great and you've got a little extra money and you say, well, how about I buy me 10 acres of land up in the mountains because I want to build me a little mountain cabin up there one day to go hunt bear. Well, things are good. And if you borrowed the money from the bank, got you a 80% loan, things start turning south. Well, this land that you bought is probably not worth what it was, and it's still dropping, and now you've lost your job. What's the first payment you're not going to make that next month? That land. That's why banks don't want to lend on land. They'll lend on your house because you're going to keep the roof over you. But that land up in the mountains, you let that go.
Yeah.
That's why. The buyer may not meet credit standards. All right? I have people here, because we do property management, the people will move in, they say, will the owner do owner financing on this? Can we get a lease to own, rent to own? That's what they want to do. And why do they want to do that?
So they can take it over.
Their credit.
Credit.
Is
That's
not-
exactly why.
Don't fit in the box.
To qualify for a rental, you need about a 620 credit score.
Wow.
That'll get you in a rental property. Well, if you got a 700 credit score, are you renting? No. So there's a little line here that we kind of work in. So if you don't have the credit rating, or your income ratios may not be there, well, you go to the owner and say, I really want to buy this house, but my credit's weak. I went in bankruptcy about 5 years ago. We're going to get our life straightened out here in a couple more years, but I really want to buy this. Will you sell it to me, owner financing? Maybe, maybe not. But if you do, that's what happens. A lot of times it's going to be a flipper. They'll go to you and say, hey, how about you still own the house? I'll make payments here for you a few months while we flip it. And then I'll split the difference with you, or the profit with you. There are more ways to skin a cat in this business. I shouldn't have to edit that out, this is the way it is. You have to work around, if your credit's not there, there's some reason, but you want it,
Right.
you can come up with a way to do it.
Right.
They're always gonna be a higher interest rate, shorter term, and if it's the seller doing it, it's called purchase money mortgage. Now, you may not even be able to do that. The seller says, no, I'm not interested in holding any kind of mortgage. Well, there are people called hard money lenders. They're harder to find, but they're out there. And their terms are gonna be harder as well.
Like the mafia.
Well, not quite that bad. But yeah, here it'll be 10%, 6 months, 9 months, just long
Yeah.
enough for you to flip the house and everybody cash out.
Yeah.
But they've got a lot of risk. This may be the first house you flipped. You
Yeah.
don't really know what you're doing.
Yeah, you're right.
But you've convinced them, oh, I know everything.
I watched HGTV.
I watch it every night. I went to a weekend seminar and I've got a hammer. I can do it.
That'd be me.
Pretty much the same thing here. Land contract, owner finance, land sale contract. The owner or seller is going to retain title. You're not going to get the title with a land sale contract. The owner's going to hold it until you make all your payments. After you make all your payments, then the owner will sign a satisfaction of mortgage, or either, I guess, probably have to do a new deed at that point. Yeah, probably new deed. Got that.
What's the contract for deed?
Contract for these three things: contract for deed, land sale contract for deed. That's about all those are different names for about the same thing. This is where you don't have the credit or something, and you can't get a regular loan. You can go.
Okay, so they hold the deed.
Well, they're holding it.
The contract or the
Mhm.
deed on it, okay.
Now, you've got a risk with that. Here it is. What if the seller goes bankrupt and you've been paying on
Tied
this?
up in it, your money in it.
Yes, it happens. People go bankrupt and they just walk away.
Wow.
But they've been getting money for you for 5 years, paying toward this house,
But they ain't paying.
and now it's over.
Can you write that into whatever contract you do with the seller? Like if they're holding the deed, you write something. Can you have a contract that says that if for some reason that property goes into foreclosure, that they owe that money back to you?
You can't do
They're
that.
going into bankruptcy.
So
They don't want nobody to
Whatever they
know.
had, gone.
Okay, I don't know about that.
That promise they made to you.
well, maybe they didn't go into maybe it was a foreclosure but not a bankruptcy though.
Well, if they foreclosed, the bank's got the title. Because they had the title.
Right.
They were making the payments, you were making payments to them.
Right.
But when they quit making payments to the bank, and I've seen this happen, we had a case about 5 years ago, the owner had 30 properties. He went in and refinanced all of them up to the max he could get out of them, and then collected rent, wouldn't do any maintenance, pay any taxes, do anything. About a year later, bank went knocking on his door saying, what's going on? He said, oh, I quit. All the people that he had
Collecting money.
well, yeah, he had preyed on people that had bad credit.
Oh,
He would say, yeah, I'll sell you this house under financing.
yeah.
And he had a bunch of them that he was financing it to them. They had put money down and making payments every month. And now they're saying, well, what happened?
And he wanna know why he laying on the floor dead.
Gonna be a shorter term. Know these words: vendor, that's the giver, the seller, and the bendies, the gittee, the
Bye.
buy.
If we don't get that, something is wrong with you.
Yeah, I hope you get mortgagor or mortgagee.
Yes.
That used to be so hard to figure out how this fits together. Mortgagee gets the fee, mortgagor gets the door. There it is.
There it is, right there.
Mort means death. Gage is pledge of wages. The pledge of wages to pay that down, equal payments over a term until it dies. When I first read that, I thought, well, do you pay it till the person's dead? No, it's till the note is dead. Something for something. That's a contract. A mortgage is actually going to be 2 contracts. This is a favorite test question on them too. 2 contracts. You've got one, the mortgage document creates a lien on the property. Alabama's a lien theory state. The borrower gets the title and the mortgage creates a lien on your title. It's leaning on your title here.
Leaning on your money.
Yeah, leaning on your money there all the time. But there's another document that says if you don't pay, no, the other one says here's what you gotta pay. That's your promise to pay. This is a lien, that's a promise to pay. This one we have talked about specific.
To their property.
The loan is specific to that piece of property. You may own 15 other properties in that area, but this loan is only on that one. So it's specific to that one. It is voluntary. You ask for it. Please give me this. I promise I'll pay you. And the other one's equitable. We have equitable and statutory. This is an equitable interest in this property. Recorded means constructive notice. We have another one called actual notice, which means you saw somebody living in the property when you went by to do your walkthrough and way of closing. Trust deed. Some places around here use a trust deed instead of a mortgage. And there you're transferring the title to a trustee. Now don't get this confused with our grandpa bank and beneficiary.
Yeah.
This is just where a third party is holding the title. And then when the mortgage is paid off, they give a reconveyance deed to you. Now you've got the deed. Got some clauses in a mortgage. One is called an acceleration clause. An acceleration is just like a car accelerator. You mash on the accelerator and everything goes really fast. What this means in a mortgage is if you miss a payment or 2 or 3 or whatever their line is, they accelerate all the rest of the payments. They all come in, they're all due today. Ouch! I couldn't even pay the one from 3 months ago. You want me to pay them all today? Are you going to take my property? Well, that's what it is. It's an acceleration. All due because you've quit making your payments. That's the first step in foreclosure, is accelerate the payments. Now, pay me. I can't pay you. Then we're going to have to take you to court and get you out. Or there are other ways we can do it. We can do it keys, and just give me the keys and we can walk away and it won't cost you any more money. But if you want to fight with me, it's going to cost you.
Yeah, but if you ain't got nowhere to go, you're gonna have to fight.
Some of them do. Had one girl said, I'll move when the sheriff puts my stuff on the street.
Oh, I ain't gonna wait that long.
Well, what's that going to do to the other person? They're going to say, okay.
But do you still, I mean, if you just decide to walk away, there are still things that they can repercussion, come back and.
Oh yeah, we're coming to that.
Okay.
Next one is alienation clause. Up until 1988, you could assume someone's mortgage. They had a 6% mortgage at that time, and then the rates, when you're ready to buy, 8%. Well, you could assume their 6% loan. After 1988, they kind of stopped that. Now they have what's called an alienation clause that says if you sell the property, you have to pay off the loan. They can't assume it. Now there's still a few isolated cases where you can assume loans, but on our conforming loans, they're all going to have alienation clause and acceleration clause. Prepayment penalties after 1988 are not allowed in FHA, VA, or conforming loans. Yeah, prepayment penalty, well, back up to pre-88, well, interest rates were going up. Well, they would make a loan to you at 8%. That's good money for us. We want that. But then if the interest rate started going down, they don't know, I want to keep this money up here. So if you're going to pay it off and get a refinance or something down here, we want some, give me some money. Promissory note, something for something, recorded, constructive notice, and here's the next thing, first in line is first in time. When you go to closing, there's nothing still against this property because your first mortgage that you got is going to pay off whatever they still owed on the house. So the books are going to be clear when you start. So the first thing that's going to be recorded is your mortgage, your first mortgage. It goes on, boom, time stamp to the second. That creates a time for you. The next thing that's recorded against this property may be a second mortgage 3 or 4 years later. You wanted to put a new roof or a new air conditioner or something, and you needed a few $1,000s. So you went and got a second mortgage, put it on here. Now that's second in line. You may have other things that will drop on here. You didn't pay the air conditioner guy for the air conditioner. You had the money, got the loan, but you didn't even pay him. You took that money and took a vacation. That's what happens. So now he's filing a lien on you. And his lien actually is not the day he recorded it, it's the day he started the work. So it may be a few weeks or a month prior to actually the recording date. Then you may have an internal revenue where you didn't pay your federal taxes. That's on there. But that's still on down the list. It doesn't go to the front of the line like your property taxes do. They're always, even though you got a first mortgage, property taxes are always at the front of the line. They're paid first from the proceeds. Then we come down by time stamp on who gets money. Our first screen tonight, we had the equity. That's what we're talking about here. Lien theory state, Alabama, some are called title theory states, but we are lien theory. That's just a lien on your title. For Alabama's judicial state, so you have to take them to court to foreclose. The exception is that owner finance, because he already has a title. He's probably just going to file an eviction. Get out. Uh-oh, we didn't make the payments. What's going to happen now? Well, we just saw we're going to have an acceleration clause kicks in. That kicks in, and then once they say, okay, we're going to take your house. Foreclosure is going to be the 20th of next month. Well, between now and the 20th of next month, if you can come up with the money, you can keep the house. That you may work out something with them. They really don't want the house. It's going to cost them 25-30% to sell it. They may lose money on this deal. If they can work something out with you, they will. But if they can't work it out, it goes into foreclosure, then you've got 1 year from the time it was foreclosed by the sheriff. 1 year out, you can come back, this is statutory by law, and get your property back. You got to pay the mortgage, the fees, all the costs the bank has incurred in this. You got to pay. I've never seen anybody come back and get one. Could. You got the right. You got 2 rights there to get it back. Now the new owner takes it without any of your liens on it. They were all wiped away. You can stop them from coming back and getting your property because you really want to live in here, and let's just say you come in and then we gotta put new carpet, new paint. They took all the light fixtures, you gotta put new light fixtures in, and you spend $10,000 getting this house livable. They'll also have to pay you that money that you made it livable. Not really fancy. You put gold fixtures and all this other stuff in there, you can't get all that money back. Let's just say that's what you want to do. I want to make this house the nicest house in the block. You can go to this seller that lost their rights, but still they're within their 1 year. You can go to them and say, hey, how about I give you $1 or $1,000 or whatever we can negotiate to buy your right to come back and get this house. You can do that. It's just a contract. You're buying a right from them. Other way, you can get a bond. A bond will cost you 1% of whatever your bond amount is. You can get a bond that will cover you in case they do come back. 2 ways you can get around this one. Government oversight. Oh, there's RESPA. You're just telling me what RESPA stood for. What's RESPA stand for?
Real Estate Settlement Procedure Act.
See, y'all learning.
Oh, lady.
I already know before you even see the slide. RESPA is to protect you from predatory lenders. It requires them to give you disclosures at certain times, tell you what your costs are going to be. Some of these costs can not be changed. Some can change just a little bit. But what it does, it gives you their cost per service. Then you can, in fact, they give you a chart too along, they give, so I think the next slide, somewhere, I got a slide here of the chart. But you have their stuff here, and then you can go to a couple of other lenders. I think they got 2 more slots there to where you can go to another one. So, well, what's your origination fee? And they'll tell you, well, what's your interest rate? And then they're going to say, well, what's your credit rate? And they're not going to ever quote you an interest rate until they know more about you. But you can do that. This is to protect the public. Remember, that's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
Our number 1 rule, protect the public. That's what RESPA does. It protects the public from predatory lenders. They're not allowed to push you into a loan that you're likely to default on, or one with a really high interest. They've got rules that they're under. Plus first mortgage only, it says. Limits things like how much money they can hold in escrow. Used to, they would say, all right, we're going to give you a loan. Let's get a year's worth of property taxes up front and just hold it for you. Well, they could do that. Now they can't. They can only hold 2 months of property taxes and insurance in your escrow account. Oh, and down here, it prohibits kickbacks, referral fees in any way, shape, or form. You call your mortgage company and say, hey, I don't have anybody to work with. You get people coming in there all the time wanting mortgages that don't have an agent. How about I give you $100 for every one of those names? Can you do that? No, doesn't that sound like a kickback, referral for, no, you can't do that. Only way you can split money in this business is broker to broker. All money has to go through the broker. Did he come to you then? You can go to someone and say, okay, I'm going to be working with you as your buyer agent this week, all week long. I want a $1,000 retainer fee. And if you buy a house like you say you're going to buy, that will be credited toward your purchase price. Or if you don't buy one, I got paid $1,000 for riding you around, buying you lunch all week.
Could they do that in lieu of the earnest money?
No.
Cannot?
No. This is a retainer fee. So we're talking about, no, I'm telling you how you can
You didn't.
get money outside of this.
Oh.
But it's got to go to the broker.
Oh, okay.
You tell that buyer, make the check out to me, you just might as well mail your license back to the real estate commission, because they're gonna find out, and
Yeah,
they're gonna take it.
out. Mhm.
But if you have it made to your broker, and it is a retainer or fee for services, if they don't buy something, it's fine. That's not a kickback, that's not a referral, that's money that you got for a service you actually did. What they're trying to get around is where you're getting paid for something you didn't do.
Gotcha.
Like, I gave you a name, I didn't do any work. Why would I get $1,000 for that name, or $100, or $1? If you got $1 for it, you've broken this rule. No kickbacks, no referrals.
None of that.
All right, this is where we're gonna get the settlement costing you. It explains everything you need to know about getting a loan. They also have to give the purchaser a good faith estimate. Another initial, GFE, that gives you a range of cost that you're gonna have related to this transaction, the mortgage. And if you've got any business relationships, they've got to be disclosed. Let's just say, in addition to our brokerage here, we had a mortgage company, a title company, insurance company. We have to disclose that we are going to get a piece off of, if you do business with them, we get part of it.
What about the home inspection, for example, if that was a part of the,
That's not ever
Since
going
it's
to be,
outs-
that's going to be, that's not going to be in this part. You're going to pay the home inspector directly on that.
Okay.
But if this lender, well, the lender wouldn't line up the home inspector. Be more likely your agent is going to say, here's some home inspectors we have used in the past that showed up sober, did a good job. That's why you don't guarantee anybody. You don't guarantee an inspector or anybody. You don't know. But we've worked with these guys. They did a good job. Call them. You talk to them. And then they're going to say, all right, I can do that next Tuesday. No, I got to have it before then. You may have to call another one. Sometimes they're busy. But you may get this one. It's okay, I'm going out there. But you're going to pay him right now. That's not related to the rest of them. Here's the booklet they have to give everybody makes an application with them, gonna get this booklet. And it's more pages than this. It goes through and tells them everything they need to know. Well, look at here, we've even got a web, probably a YouTube video on it to tell you how it works. No referral fees to unlicensed persons. All right, you got a neighbor that said, hey, people across the street fixing to get transferred. How about I set you up with them? You can take us all out to dinner.
Wow.
Oh, that sounds like you're crossing the line.
Yes.
Some people would think, well, that's not really crossing the line.
It's just there.
Well, don't go sit in front of the real estate commission and say, well, it was a really nice dinner. You don't want to have to explain, just stay in the box. You've got clear lines around your box. Stay in it. Regulation Z. We have, the way our system works, legislatures pass acts. This is the Truth in Lending Act of 1969. To enforce an act, they come up with regulations. A, B, we're all the way down to Z on this one. There's a bunch of rules on truth in lending. One of them is Regulation Z, says you got to give the buyer meaningful information. Isn't that what we just gave them right here? Here's how it works. Here's everything you need to know about it. Meaning, and how loss, cost of credit, how much are your total payments going to be, how much is your interest rate, they got to disclose everything. Everything. It doesn't limit what they can charge you. They can charge you 100% origination fee. if you will pay it. But it says they can do it. Finance. All right, we got two things you must disclose, the two most important things in Regulation Z. Finance charge total. We had one down there a minute ago, a $100,000 loan was going to cost them $370,000. $270,000 of that was finance charge. That's what you would have to do under Regulation Z. We don't as agents. The mortgage brokers, this is what they have to do. There was $270,000 worth of finance charge, and your annual percentage rate. We had one where they were quoting 3.75, I believe it was, but by the time they put all their the fees on there, it was like 4.1. That's the true, that's your called annual percentage rate, not the advertised rate. They got to tell you the true number. Down at the bottom, these are all the things that got to be disclosed. I put it in a little chart here on this next one to where it's trigger terms. These are these are trigger terms, but here are trigger terms: the amount or percentage of the down payment, the amount of the payment, finance charges, or there's no finance charge, number of installments, period. If you give them any of these numbers, you've got to give them these. All the other stuff. There's an agent here in Birmingham that puts a sign on a little rider on their signs, only $1,000 down, or $799 a month. Well, if you put either one of those, you have triggered. Now you got to put, like on the car ads down at the bottom, you got to tell them everything. Oh my goodness, we can do price fixing? No, we can't. No, we can't fix prices. Right down here at the bottom is why we can't do it. We used to do it. It was written in the contract, printed in there. It came from the printer. That time we didn't have copiers and stuff. The contracts came from the printer, and it said, seller to pay, whatever real estate company it is, 6%. It was written in there, 6% for for transacting this deal. Well, the seller would read the contract, and they would just read that and say, oh, I guess that's what I have to pay. Well, that's price fixing. If they think, well, that's what I gotta pay, and it's all printed in the contract, and you don't tell them, well, we can negotiate this, because you didn't tell them that, then that's price fixing. Another example of price fixing would be, we're all brokers sitting around at lunch one day, and I'd say, we've been selling residential houses now at 10% commission for a lot of years. I can't make it on 10%. It's just tough. We got so many expenses, and times are bad, and we're not selling a lot of stuff. If we could raise our commission to 15%, then we could break even. Y'all sitting around saying, yeah, I'm tired of this 10%. I can't make it on 10. Yeah, me either. Even if we went to 12, I could make it better at 12. No, I want 15. And then finally, finally we all say, well, we can't go to 15 right now, but how about if we start bumping it up? And we'll all go back to the office and we'll change our contracts to 11%. And then maybe in a month or two, we'll start bumping it up. You think we're going to hurt the public? Isn't that our number one rule? Protect the public? Does that sound like we're protecting the public or hurting them?
You're hurting nobody.
This is price fixing. Not only will the real estate commission come after you, but everybody's coming after you. Price fixing. Boycotting. All right. We're a full service broker here charging 15% now because we're all working on the same page. And this new broker comes into town saying, 15%? I'll do it for 5. So they set up a shop over there and start advertising. We'll do yours for 5%. All right, we're all gonna get together at the next lunch meeting. And what are we gonna say? You know, if we won't show their listings, that'll put them out of business.
Oh, you don't know what worse than that.
Uh-oh, now we got boycotting. That's wrong too. Another one here about brokers. This actually, I saw this happen back in '07. Broker was talking about, every time I pick up the newspaper, it's negative, negative, negative. How the real estate market's crashing, nobody's ever gonna make any money, it's gonna fall apart. If we'd quit advertising, they'd quit writing that kind of stuff. And I thought, ooh, that sounds like boycotting to me. He never carried it any further, but had he stopped advertising in them and got anybody else to agree to not, then we got problems, or he got problems. Tie-in agreements. Tie-in agreement is, all right, I'm gonna help you buy this house, but I expect you to use our mortgage company. Wait a minute, our mortgage company may not be the best deal for you, but if I tell you, I'm not gonna help you do this unless you use this one too. I'm tying these services together. That's where we cross the line. It's called a tie-in agreement. Can't do that either. Mortgage fraud, we talked about that a little bit already. How about pushing people to a higher rate mortgage that they can't pay? You think they're probably gonna go into default? Maybe an adjustable rate. Pushing somebody into an adjustable, oh yeah, that's a perfect thing for you. That's what you really need, is an adjustable rate. Knowing that you're barely qualifying at this low rate now. And once it resets in 2 years or 3 years and it resets 3 points up, you're going into foreclosure. That is against the rules.
That's why the market did what it did.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that type of stuff going on.
Mortgage fraud usually requires some collusion between 2 or 3 people. An appraiser really needs to be on the deal because this $100,000 house really isn't worth 100. He knows it's only worth 60. But if you give him a little money, it's worth 100. You're going to have normally more than one person to commit fraud. The deal is trust but verify. Know who you're dealing with. We've got an example of a mortgage closing statement here. Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Remember, that's the law, and then Regulation B is one of the enforcement mechanisms of that law. What Equal Opportunity does is it adds some status. We haven't talked about fresh corn yet. Might as well talk about fresh corn right now. Fresh corn is the Fair Housing Law protected classes. We've got F is familial, R is race, E and O means it's equal opportunity for everyone, and also your E and O insurance won't cover a violation. The S is sex, H is handicap, C is color, R is religion, and N is national origin. You got 7 protected classes. You will remember those. We haven't done these yet, but when we get to them, we'll work with them. This Regulation B adds marital status to this, age, and your income from public assistance. I think I've told y'all the story about my 94-year-old grandfather got a 30-year loan. I don't know if I was the mortgage company, I would be that optimistic that he's going to make all those payments, but they're under rules that said they cannot discriminate against him because of his age. He's getting Social Security, that's his only income. Can't discriminate on that, and he's widowed. Used to, a woman could not get a mortgage on her own. She had to have her husband's permission. She couldn't even have a bank account.
They couldn't even vote.
Couldn't vote. There are a lot of things that have changed. This one changed these. When I got my license, the rule was you couldn't have a mortgage past your 80th birthday. So you could get a 30-year mortgage when you're 50. If you were 60, they'd only give you a 20-year mortgage. That's changed with Regulation B. All they can consider is what's in the box. So we've already talked about the box, your income. Net worth will come in here. If you got a bunch of money in the bank, that may soften it. Your job stability and credit rating. Job stability, you've got to be on the job 2 years. You can change jobs, but you've got to be in the same kind of job that you were, because you got to have 2 years in the same kind of work. Well, he had been retired for, I don't know, 30 years.
Maybe more.
Because people used to retire around 65.
I did at 62.
But that's all they can look at. Credit, income, job stability. Yes, ma'am.
Going back to the fresh corn, what was the E for?
E&O insurance won't cover a violation, and E&O means equal opportunity. Now, if they had told my grandpa, well, we can't loan you this money, well, they've got to let him know why. They've got to give him, nowadays, it's a link. Back then, it's probably a letter. But they've got to tell you why we denied you. Well, if you found an error there, you can come back and say, well, no, that's not right. Here's the real thing. I didn't tell you about all the money I got in the Cayman Islands. Got seashells down there, buried in sand. Now we got one thing down the bottom. This wasn't in Regulation B. This it was before. No, it probably was in 1974. Redlining. Redlining is where lenders said, okay, we don't want to lend in this area.
Fairfield.
Fairfield was the example we have here. They said we're not going to lend in Fairfield because a third of the loans go into foreclosure. Well, you're hurting 2/3 of the people by saying I won't loan money in here. So they would draw a line, a red line. I got a map somewhere that's got one drawn on it to where we will not loan money in this area. Come to find out, it's probably race related.
It is.
Well,
It is what it is.
it is what it is. It's just that's the way it is. So they're trying to stop that. If they find out there's a loan company or a mortgage company that said, nah, I'm not lending in there, they probably won't be a mortgage company much longer.
None of the center point.
Dodd-Frank, this was just the law that kind of got the T-I, or TRID, T-R-I-D, truth, was it, yeah, what's that?
TRID?
Yeah, it's on there somewhere what that means. I can't remember the name right now. It's probably the next, there it is. Truth in Lending Act.
Okay.
That replaced the old HUD 1 disclosure form. It's pretty much the same information, just more information.
Is that the same as TRID, T-R-I-D?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the word TRID is actually the form. I got the wrong letter up there.
Well, we had
Doesn't-
TRID the other day, and you said it replaces the HUD one.
Yeah, that we had one that we looked
Yeah.
at and just picked it apart all the way down.
Right.
That's what replaced the HUD 1. It just, there's more information on this one.
Okay.
Go in and look at it, and as you go down through there, you say, I see, that works. Well, what do you know? Here's one. This is one that another real estate instructor sent us. Said, here's an example of a company you don't want to do business with. And he has a little email along with it said, you need to know your lenders. Because here's what will happen when you don't know your lenders. Look at this, origination charges $8,500. Where's the loan amount?
Total loan, 11,
Right, the total loan.
D at the very bottom, to your left.
Total loan cost, $11,000. And it seems like this loan was somewhere around $100,000. No, there it is. No, this is property taxes.
Wait a minute.
I don't see the loan amount on
It
here.
ain't, I believe it or
I think
not.
what was on the title one.
It might have been, but $8,000, they're paying, looks like a half a point loan discount points. Origination fee of $5,900.
That's a lot.
Woo! That's what he said. He looked at that and said, wait a minute, something's wrong here. Somebody did it to him. But it was, total of $11,000 worth of loan cost when it should have been probably half that.
Yeah, but it got two origination.
I know.
That's crazy.
Quick question, if that person had not called it prior to closing, is there anything that they could do after the fact if it was?
If you sign it,
That's
you
it.
did it, but this is why you get this information up front with the good faith estimate.
And even though they get it up front, they may not even understand what they're looking at.
This, with most companies, would be called a transaction fee or administrative fee right here, $999. That's a junk fee. I imagine a lot of these are probably junk fees, but you should know a $100,000 loan, you shouldn't have $11,000 worth of closing cost.
And then your flood determination fee just $11, really?
Well, that they couldn't fool with. That's kind of, you've got to get a letter
Things you
from.
cannot shop for.
Yeah, these are things, flood insurance coverage,
Oh, okay. Can't agree.
tax service, these are things that are pretty much carved in stone. This is where they get you here.
Yes.
And then here's services you can shop for. Title, search, administrative support, document prep fees. Don't those all sound like the same thing?
Yeah, but it's different prices.
But see, back, you said services you can shop for, but then when it has the origination charge, it almost implies that there's nothing you
I
can
agree.
do about.
Yeah, I agree there.
about
They should have
amount.
that, should be in here. You can shop for this too.
Right.
What did you say that this would be on the good faith estimate? So the agent would see? it?
Yeah,
That
this
is
is,
a good thing.
this is what they're giving them.
Oh, that is a good thing.
Yeah, this would be
Okay.
loan closing cost details. I think this one may have been the final loan closing cost, or it could have been what they gave them to say, okay, here's what we're gonna charge. You can go shop other places, but you probably don't want to.
But see, if it's a rookie, they wouldn't know that.
Right.
They think that's probably the norm.
Well, see, that's where we come in as an agent. If you're their agent, you have responsibility to protect them from stuff like this. And $8,000 for origination fee is too much. Just too much. And you would know that, and you would probably call that lender and say, what's going on?
Right.
Why is this so much? Well, that's just what we charge.
Well,
Okay, well, we're gonna go look at
You're gonna get
company B over here. We're gonna shop. That's what the whole thing is about, to give you information so you can shop and make a better decision.
That's right.
Lending process, who are they? And we got a little short sale down the bottom. We get these things confused. Pre-qualified, pre-approved, doesn't that mean the same thing? No. Pre-qualified is, they called the mortgage guy and said, yeah, I make $100,000 a year, my credit's probably somewhere around 800. Yeah, I got cash in the bank, I've been on my job for 10 years, I'm a mid-level supervisor, and I'm wanting this house. That's the information they gave him, probably on the phone. And it says, if applicant told the truth. If. And in this business, that's a big word.
Yeah.
If is a big word here. Actually, the pre-approval is they took your information and then they called your employer. They ran a credit check on you. Well, you've only been here 6 months. You just got out of prison. you file bankruptcy. Your credit rating's 315.
Oh, my goodness.
I think the minimum's 350. Your credit rating's 350. A lot of difference from what he told them on the phone and reality. A lot of sellers, when you see the listing, it's going to say pre-approval letter required with offer. That's to let them know, can you really buy this house? Because if you can't, then we're not going to accept the offer to begin with. If not, move on. Neither one of these means it's actually been verified and approved. They called your employer and they kind of gave them information over the phone, but we're still here.
Okay, so that's not considered an approval because it was
No.
pre-approved?
No, there's still paper that's got to get to the underwriter, where the underwriter is the one that's sitting in the way back office,
Yeah.
glued to the computer screen all day long, just crunching numbers and fooling with papers to verify that what this guy got, that this one told him he had.
So wouldn't that be based on having a contract? So could you really get to the point of the approval?
Now, you're up here before you ever make an offer. You need to have your client go to a mortgage company
Right.
and say, how much can I buy?
Mhm.
That's here.
Right.
And then they're gonna do an application. That's when we start putting it on writing and we start gathering the information. Then this person down here, the underwriter, takes all this information and verifies it.
But is that not at the point where you've made an offer or you have a contract?
You're gonna probably make your offer in here.
Okay.
We think you can buy this much, and he's actually talked to a couple of people, said, yeah, you do work here. They've run a credit report on you, and your credit's not 300, so 700. They've got enough information to say, yes, we will write you a letter saying you are pre-approved for up to $175,000.
And those letters are usually good for how long?
Well, those letters are not worth the paper they're really written on.
Okay.
So why writing?
Well, it's to give the seller just a saying, yes, we think they're gonna get through underwriting. We think they will. From what they have told us and what we have verified, we think they can do it. But we're gonna get down to the underwriting where they're gonna go back and they're gonna call you one day and say, hey, we were running all this stuff on the car. You didn't tell us about this car loan that you had signed on with your niece that went into default. Tell us more about that. Well, that may knock you out because they're going to verify, the underwriting is verifying everything that you told them is true. And if you lied to them, they're going to find out. Underwriting sometimes is still going on the day of closing. They're still calling you, saying, I need one more piece of paper. Just one more form that we didn't get over here. We gotta have that still. You'll go to closings where it's not funded yet because they have not finished underwriting it. You're not getting the money until they are absolutely sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and everything is here.
Wow.
Pre-approval, we're going to look at debit, credit scoring, and history. History is the most important thing to them. That's your test question. In fact, I said, what am I going backwards here?
Well, yeah. Well,
I think I want forward and then backwards. How credit scores affect interest rates. I think we kind of talked this out already about if you've got a 600 credit score or an 800 credit score, that's going to affect your interest rates. Here's our ratios. You got to know these numbers. On conventional FHA, it's front end number 28%. That's your income percentage, your house payment percentage of your gross income. So if you're making, let's just say $10,000 a month, you can afford a $2,800 house payment. You're making $1,000 a month, you can afford a $280 house payment. Your income's got a whole lot to do with how much you can pay back. You got a total debt ratio. That's your car loans, your student loans, any kind of long-term debt. All those numbers add up to a total of 36%. VA lumps them together. You can just do a total 41% debt ratios. Now these numbers can change a little bit depending on the different lenders, where they're going to sell it in that secondary market. They may be able to sell it to somebody that'll take a little higher, with a little higher rate. Everything is like this in this business. But for your test, front end number,
Yes.
back end number, and then VA is a total.
If these are the conforming numbers, right? though?
Yes,
Okay.
these are conforming numbers here. And we just talked about this. It's going to depend on your credit score. And here, the average is 720 right now. Keep it simple when you're talking to people about mortgages. Don't ever get your calculator out and start doing that time function of money calculations and get it down to the penny. They don't care about the pennies. They want to know how much. Okay. Here's how we keep it simple. At 5% interest, right now we're below that. But at 5% interest, for every $1,000 that you finance for a 30-year loan, it's going to cost you about $5 per month. That's about as simple as we can get this. A $100,000 loan is going to cost you $500 a month. Principal and interest. To qualify for that, remember we had a 28%? Well, don't get that precise on it. Say it's about a quarter of your income. So your $500 a month payment means you need to make about $500 a week. That's a $100,000 loan at 5%. Keep it simple. Don't ever get your I've seen people get their calculator out and lose the sale.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it just got them confused and scared. But you can say 5% interest, 30-year loan is going to cost you $5 a month. You need to make 4 times that, so you need to make $500 a week to qualify for a $500 a month payment. That's simple. And they say, well, I make $1,000 a week. Let's look at $200,000 houses. Now everybody pushes up, and it's the maximum I can do. Okay, well, we talked about front end, back end. Back end ratios is your payments plus your mortgage payment. Got to be a total of 36 on the back end, 41 VA. Here's actually the math on it. I gave you the easy, the way you should talk to people about it. But the math for the test, they're going to go with 28%, not about a week. You got $4,000 worth of income. 28% is your front end number. Multiply the 4,000 by 28, you can have a $1,120 mortgage payment. Now you have a total of another, another $320 in total debt. That's this times that minus this. That's not much car payment. Got me a 10-year-old, what is it, a Pinto?
Yeah, Pinto.
$320 a month. Now, after I get the loan, then I can go buy me a new car. Don't ever go buy a new car when you're fixing to go buy a house. And don't buy the furniture. You go in and got the contract on the house, go ahead and buy all the furniture for it? No, because that's going to knock your numbers out. This is the test question right here. History is the biggest factor in determining credit. 35% of what they look at, they weight to your credit history. Who are all these people dealing with this money?
Yeah.
And you got a lot of people here. We got the mortgagee, They're the ones that gets the fee. You got a mortgagor, they get the door and the money. That's where we get this backwards. Because we always say, I'm gonna go get a mortgage. No, you're not. You're gonna go give a mortgage. A mortgage is a lien on your property. You're getting the money because you're signing a promise to pay them back. Got an originator, we've talked about them. They usually get a commission of 1% of the amount. Mortgage, the company, they work on a spread. We talked about that. We got the broker, we got all those covered. Processor, coordinator, that's the underwriter. They're the ones doing all the stuff to make sure everything is there like it should be. Not only does the person have to qualify, but the property has to qualify. That's where the appraiser comes in. He's had a license that way more, I think they have to do like 200 appraisals before they're actually an appraiser. And what they have to do is they have to gather all the information and base it on their professional opinion, their experience. This house should be worth about this much. And it's his opinion of value as of a certain date. An appraiser can say, or you can go to an appraiser and say, I need the value of this property 3 years ago. He can do that because he's got all the information. Go back 3 years. Because sometimes you'll have like an estate that settles. Well, they have to appraise it, not at today's number, but what it appraised, what it sold for, or what it would have sold for when the person died. So they can put the date on whatever date you need it. Person, then the property underwriter, we got that one. Then the attorney, he's involved in this. The attorney is the one that gets the mortgage documents from the mortgage company. And they've got everything there ready. All he's got to do now is sit down with the purchaser and go through it. So this is this is that, this is this. Got any questions? I don't know what questions I should have. But they'll answer any questions about the mortgage or the closing. They're not going to give you any legal advice about anything else. You say, well, I got a problem with this seller on this. It's not new. I can tell you about this, but he's working for the mortgage company. That's who he's working for. Not you, not the other one. Tips on mortgages. Short sale. Nothing short about it. Got some timelines in here. Basically what happens here is you have someone who's had a major life crisis. They got hurt in a wreck or something, they can't work anymore. Now, the mortgage company says, well, if you can't make the payments because of this, we can work with you. We may write down part of the mortgage. They won't tell you how much. They'll say, put it on the market and get an offer, then we will deal with it. They may take the offer, so you may put it on the market, and they may take the first one and say, well, that's good, we're out of here. Or it may be so low, they say, no, get more offers. But the short sale cannot be because the market has crashed. Now, this happened in 2007, everybody wanted to do a short sale. No, it's not why short sale is because you, the borrower, can't make the payments. As long as you still can make the payments, you're not getting a short sale. But if your circumstances warranted, then there are things that will happen. All your days and all are down through. I don't think you got to know any of that for this test. If you get into a short sale, we've only dealt with one in all the years we've been doing this, we've had one short sale. We had the listing on it because the agent knew somebody at the bank. And that's how she ended up with the listing on it. And then she got the buyer, so we had dual agency on it. It took about 6 months for this thing to work through all the people at the bank, even though it says got to do it in 10 days and 45 days and you get an answer by 90 days. And it doesn't work that way. It's nothing short about a short sale. Mortgage fraud. Here we go. Misrepresentation or failing to disclose things. Falsifying income, employment documentation. Demanding seller will want more money under the table.
And it was the giveaway right there.
Uh-huh.
Under the table.
Buyer would really like to get 80%, but they bumped the price up so they can get a 80%, and there really is more like a 90 or 100%. There you gotta have the appraiser. Gotta be helping out with that, because he's the one that's gonna set the price up. All the money got to be on that closing form. The closing form accounts for every penny. And at the bottom, one's getting money and the other one's giving money. Matching quiz. All right, we got 5 minutes. Let's run through some of these questions. Well, we'll do 5 minutes worth of questions. What's equity?
The value above whatever is the cushion in between the value and
What's on
what's owed on it.
Okay. Give me some things that would come off of your equity.
What you mean come off of it?
Well, you got a $100,000 house, you just sold it. What's gonna eat into that 100,000?
Taxes.
Taxes?
Some
You got
closing costs.
closing costs? Did you have a mortgage?
First and second
Did
mortgage.
you pay an agent to do a commission on it? So there's a lot of things that's gonna pull your equity down to a net number.
The 80% is what the lender is willing to loan you.
Yes, willing to
On
loan.
the loan, you
And it's gonna be based on purchase price or appraisal?
appraisal,
Appraisal.
not a portfolio.
Portfolio's one where it doesn't fit in the box.
Mhm.
So they're gonna keep,
Secondary.
all these others are government related, government guaranteed.
VA.
VA, only one.
That's it. No. Salary.
There goes Sally. She does student loans. She is doing well right now.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna be our next bubble
yeah.
when that one pops.
So there is a Jenny.
Down payment.
Yeah.
3.5.
Jenny's
That's the FHA.
government guarantee. I think that's the one that does VA loans.
FHA.
FHA is 3.5% down payment. And how much can the seller contribute toward your price on?
6%.
6% on these. On the conventional, it's
3%.
3. It's a pity.
Principal, interest, taxes.
Taxes and
And insurance, yes.
Payment of all triggers. Acceleration.
Acceleration clause.
Title theory. Defeasible. Defensible.
Is it?
There,
That's what they're probably gonna get you on. Because we say this one backwards. We've been saying for years, the mortgagor, I'm gonna go get a mortgage.
yeah.
Well, title theory says the mortgagor gets the door, and Alabama title theory, the mortgage is just a lien on your title. So the mortgagor is holding title here. Now, if it's a owner finance sale, which one's it gonna be? Mortgagee. They're holding the title. Title company doesn't hold the title. And defeasance clause, what's another word for defeasance? Defeatable. And that was about the alcohol and church services on the property. And those usually don't
Title
go
theory
together.
stay.
Title theory state, yes.
Yeah.
I could have put this one before that other one.
Give me the answer. True term do not include a payment amount. No, yeah, the APR, the interest rate, the down payment, down payment,
Trigger
I
terms
would say
do not
APR.
include,
down payment.
you know, it includes all those.
Yeah.
All of those are trigger terms.
Yeah.
Your APR, you've got to disclose that. You've got to disclose the payment amount, the interest, oh, there we go, interest rate. That's the one. You have to
The
disclose the APR.
Yeah.
Because remember on our example, they were saying your interest rate's 3.75, but that wasn't the real APR.
Right.
Okay.
You've got to disclose the APR.
So it's the.
Because the interest rate is dependent on that individual's credit worth.
Yeah, you're gonna have more fees on
So they
top of it.
advertise something that you.
Yeah, they're gonna advertise the interest rate, but then you may have to pay discount points to get that rate.
Yeah.
The APR is the number that counts, because it's gonna be the interest rate plus some fees.
RESPA does not apply to,
What is base? Beta switching.
broker to broker.
There we go.
payments.
Doesn't apply to broker payments.
RESPA does not require, the 48 30 items to be delivered in 36 hours. The 48 hours?
Yeah, well, it's 36 hours.
They require the
You've
36.
got to deliver this document to them within 2 days. That was back on one of those
So-
old slides.
Required 36 hours.
36 hours would be like a day and a half.
Okay.
So it's gonna be 2 days.
Oh, okay, so it's gonna be 8.
Yeah,
It's
2 days.
A.
No, so
It
it's
does
B.
not. It
It's
says
B.
does not.
Yeah, there's not.
B.
Yeah, the answer would be B here. You've got to get it to them within 48 hours.
Yeah.
So it would be A would be
Yeah.
the right.
A's the,
Right.
A's what
A is
you
the-
gotta do,
right.
but this one, it's
B
got
is-
that little word not that we
Right.
just
Not.
kinda don't
So
see.
if you say RESPA does require, then you would know it was A.
Yeah, it would also be these other things too.
Right,
It
okay.
did require. This one does not require 36 hours, it's actually 48.
Predatory lender breaks do not include. A. A is not, marital status is not predatory. Because the rest of them would be.
Yeah, all the rest of
predatory
these are. This doesn't have anything to do with predatory.
Right.
This is steering is predatory, encouraging, because
Fresh corn is A. A
Yeah,
is
that would
fresh
be in
corn.
our fresh corn. Encourage refinancing, and that's, I think what you were telling me, they were wanting your dad or somebody to, come on in here, refinance. That's really against the rules.
Mortgage lien is specific and
Oh,
voluntary.
yeah. Y'all know those specific or general, voluntary, involuntary, or equitable or statutory? Because you could have them, and they'll have them like this, and they'll probably have 3, and then they'll switch them up, and then they'll put something else in there, like ad valorem.
That's like when you buy a car, isn't it?
Well, ad valorem according to value,
According to value.
and that's what your property taxes are. One more, let's get this one way
Lender
through.
legal practice of discrimination does not include cheat. D.
D is a cheat. A cheat is when a person dies without a will. Their property will be distributed based on the state laws of who gets it. Maybe, I don't know. Other than that, these other things are all discrimination. All right, y'all had enough?
Yes, but that was good.
That is good.